today's episode number 689 of Into Your Head, How De-Evolution Works, a circus-style education with wages, paper as a drug, self-propelled people, Paula Abdul's cat, how to be fair and balanced, and lots more. Into your head. Pre-existing preludes to a substandard podcast episode walk into a bar. One of the pre-existing preludes to a substandard podcast episode goes straight up to the bar counter and says, "Hello, can I have a pint of your finest Guinness, please?" And the man behind the bar says, "I don't know, what is this going to lead into? Is this going to lead into a substandard podcast episode?" And the pre-existing prelude to a substandard podcast episode says, "Well, that remains to be seen. The whole purpose of a prelude is to try and rectify a podcast episode that's gone astray, that's lost its way, so to speak. So we'll see. It remains to be seen how this will end up. But if it goes well, I can tell you as the barman will play a part in one of the finest revivals of a substandard podcast episode in the history of Into Your Head ever." And the man behind the bar says, "I can't see that happening, to be perfectly honest." And the pre-existing prelude to a podcast episode says, "Today's bog standard episode of Into Your Head podcast, hello, starts with a prelude by me, which you'll hear after this, in which I claim that today's episode is below standard, but I'm hoping that by the time I finish it, it'll be a bog standard episode, and the prelude that follows this further prelude will no longer apply, so it'll all balance itself out. A bit like when you go and what would be a good example of this now? If you have grass, if you've got a level lawn and it's growing very high, and you cut one side of the lawn one day and it looks like it's higher up than the rest of the lawn because the grass is taller, it looks like it's a hill. Then you come back a couple of days later and you mow the other side of the lawn and then it's all level again. That's because it's all balanced itself out. It's like as if the top of the grasses of blade are like some sort of fish scales that you get in a fishmongery, not the type of fish scales that you take off the fish, although they might come in useful. If you had a weighing scales, a balance scales in a fishmongery, you want to get two pieces of fish exactly the same weight, you put one fish on the left scale and one fish on the right scale, and you notice that there's a slight difference, you could descale one of the fish, the heavier fish, and that will take a bit of weight off it, and then ironically the fish with no scales will help you balance the fish with the scales on the equipment known as the scale. Isn't that very clever? It's a bit of a pun there, or whatever you call it, all over the idea of a fish having scales and a fishmonger having a set of scales as equipment. That's what you call a load of crap. It's helped to balance out this show, because it's balancing out, because there are parts of this episode that I'm not proud of. There are parts of this episode coming up later in the show of which I can tell you I won't be boasting about to my grandchildren when I'm 87. I won't be saying you should hear episode 689 of Into Your Head. It's one of the finest podcasts I ever made. No, I don't think I'll be saying that, but I do think I'll be able to balance it out a little, so it won't be as much of a disaster as the me of the past likes to make out in the prelude that you're about to hear after this pre-prelude. So a bit of balance, I think, is what we're establishing here. A bit of balance, like the likes of Jonathan Dimbleby does on the BBC Radio. radio. There's a Jonathan Dimbleby does a political panel show every weekend on the radio, and his brother, something else Dimbleby, does a very similar program on the television on a Thursday night, and the two of them balance themselves out, but they're also really good at doing a fair and balanced debate. Well, some would argue anyway, that's what they're supposed to do anyway, but for further balance they have one of them on the radio and one of them on the television, and their brothers and their father who spawned them. I think he's dead now, but he was a Dimbleby too, Richard Dimbleby. I don't know if he had a brother, but he had two broadcasting sons on opposite mediums doing similar jobs, balancing. That's about as balanced as you can get, I think, and that's why the BBC has such a reputation. Or maybe it doesn't, I don't know. If I was being balanced here, I would now put the other side of the argument, in which you'd say that the BBC is a pile of crap, having to give all the jobs away to the Dimblebys, one of them on the radio and one of them on the television, giving them the same job. And they should have got two unrelated people. Absolutely fucking ridiculous. So that's how balance works. You take a bit of... you get the idea. Anyway, not to be self-derogatory or whatever the word is, but today's show was going to be a pile of crap. Pure unmitigated piffle, absolute drivel, and it's not the sort of thing that I'd want to present to you as my best foot forward. If I was told, this is your chance to become a podcast god, you just have to put forward your best episode to a new listener. Well, this isn't the one I'd put forward. Oh no, you can't be putting forward your wait a minute. When you're walking and you put your best foot forward, and then you have to take another step, then you have to put your other foot forward too. And unfortunately, that's how it works here as well. If I make a good episode and then I want to take a step forward from that, then I have to put a crap episode in front then before I can put another good episode in front. Because that's how you walk. You put your best foot forward and then you put your other foot forward, which by definition, even if it's a very good foot, it can't be your best foot if your other foot is the best foot, unless both feet are exactly the same, in which case you get told, you've got two left feet, and then you're laughed at for the rest of your life. You're considered, you're like some sort of you're like the fella in the school who gets made fun of every day because he has funny hair. Of course, if he were to come back age 50 in a circus as a clown, you'd have children the same age as the ones who he was in school with. They'd be laughing, saying, look at the fella with the funny hair, and the parents would pay him for that. But no, if you've got funny hair, you're laughed at by your peers in school. You don't get to say to their parents, give my manager some money now over there at the box office and I'll get a share of that and I'll live off that for the rest of my life. Because if that was the case, I can tell you, my childhood would have been a lot more profitable, and I would be quite happy. I'd been quite happy with that if being the class idiot meant being a clown and getting the wages of a clown. Even if they were put in trust until my 30s or 40s, I'd be perfectly fine with that. Maybe that's the case now, I don't know. I've no involvement with schools anymore, so I don't know how that sort of thing works. But all the cutbacks in the post-Celtic Tiger era here, I doubt they even have circuses anymore, do they? Maybe they do. I see circuses being advertised now that I think about it. But that's not the same as a school. A school and a circus is not the same thing, so let's not get confused. Anyway, we've a lot to get on with today. Items that need to be attended to, issues that need to be addressed, a gap in the show that needs to be filled in with a new segment, hence me being here right now. I've just removed several minutes of this episode because they were crap, absolute pure unmess. Something about Dick Whittington's cat, something about a pink USB cable that led on to Dick Whittington's cat's luggage carrying system. I didn't really understand it myself, to be perfectly honest, and if I don't understand it myself, then how can I expect you, the likes of you, to understand it? No, if it's beyond me, and as you can be damn sure the Christ has held it, no offence, if I can't understand it, and I'm the one who said it, and it's of no value to me, then it's of no, can't possibly be of any use to you. It's never going to transfer, it's my responsibility to transfer this information into your brain, and if I can't even sort it out in my own thing, we've no chance. No, I'm sure it was nothing important though. It was something about, I've got it right here right now, the pink USB cheap iPhone replacement electric cable I was talking about. It's not of any interest. It's got no relevance to the news and current affairs of the day. Not that would stop me normally, but no, it led on to some crap. Basically it was crap. That's what we're trying to say here. I removed the segment that was the opening of the show originally, and it was a pile of crap, and then I put in something else in front of it, and now I'm putting this in here, and I'm not sure if we've managed to salvage anything. There's more to life than salvaging things, people are obsessed with salvaging everything and recycling if you go out to put something in the bin now, there's 10 different bins and you have to figure out where to put it. You say put your green bottles in the green bottle bin, and then when the bin wears out, put that bin into the other bin, and then fart into this other bin here and make damn sure you seal it, because apparently farting is people, that's the new thing now. People complain, they say cows are farting everywhere, so they're bad for the environment, and then they set up wind farms. You get wind farms trying to they're trying to control the air. That's what they are now. They're trying to get hold of the air and use it to make, they're basically using the air to burn things, however it is it works. I don't understand exactly how it works, but they're basically using the air to make power. In my day, we used to, the air was something that, in my day, bollocks, this is a load of crap too. This is a pile of crap. Nothing, it's just a farce type of crap. No, we're having follow through here. So don't tell the frigging environmentalists about this. Pulling out of this pink USB cable, which doesn't work anymore, but it can still create topics. Any inanimate object, be it working or non-working, deceased or non-deceased, or undead, any inanimate object can be a source of topic, I think you'll find, such as this pink USB cable, designed to be a cheap replacement for an iPhone cable, and a cheap replacement for an iPhone cable it was, I can tell you, because it worked for about 3 days, and then it stopped working. I suppose I could use it for something else. I could use it to tie a bundle of sticks together if I ever need to, but I'm not sure I'd want to be seen walking down the street with this, walking down the street with a bundle of sticks tied together. Last time I heard of anything like that was when I read the story of Dick Whittington and his cat, or was it Dick Whittington's cat? I think it was Dick Whittington's cat, who put all his earthly belongings in tied them up in a sheet and tied them over a stick over the side of his, over his shoulder. And now that you mention it, he probably wouldn't have needed a cable like this or anything to tie them together. If you have something in a cloth, you just pull up the end of the cloth and tie a knot in that. You don't need any extra strings or anything like that. But that was back in the old days. In the old days when people were a lot less worried about cosmetic appearance. Nowadays they'd say, you can't just have your stuff tied up in a sheet on a stick hung over your shoulder. You have to get luggage. You have to get a big suitcase, a case designed for carrying suits and other apparatus, and shove everything into the suitcase and make damn sure the Christ as hell has got a zip on it, and a big handle coming out of it and wheels. You have to put your suits in a vehicle now, even if you're having them put into a further vehicle. If you're bringing your luggage and you're putting it in a car, you have to have the luggage in a suitcase on wheels. It's got everything except an engine. You're the engine. You're the engine. You're the propeller. You're a self-contained engine. You're powered by. You may not realise it, but you as a human being are an engine. You're powered by oxygen and food, carbohydrates. You have to shove some carbohydrates and protein down your gob in the morning and shove some air in on a regular basis, and then you're an engine. You're ready for your day off to powering yourself. You're basically a vehicle that's designed purely to transport itself. Most badly designed vehicle ever. We human beings were just vehicles that are designed only to carry ourselves and nothing else. Absolutely fucking ridiculous. Can you imagine if you had a car and you said, now you have to put some petrol in this car so that the car can push itself around for no reason? Oh no, that would be considered bad design. If Henry Ford had come up with that, I can tell you, they'd have said, we've been doing that for millennia upon millennia. The dinosaurs are doing that. The dinosaurs used to, although some of those animals, they'd be like cars eating other cars, which I suppose would be reasonable, because you have to do something with the cars that aren't working anymore, and what better thing to do with them than to use them as fuel? Why don't we use our old vehicles as fuel? Here's a question for you. Why not? Maybe we do. What happens to old vehicles? I suppose they're broken down. Bits of them are recycled, other bits of them are buried in the ground like they're dead. We've got all sorts of systems for dealing with things that are no longer in use in this world. It's a complicated system in which I'm not an expert, so let's not get bogged down in thinking about that. Not that I was thinking about it, I was just spouting nonsense without thinking. But no. Anyway, we've a lot to get on with today, as I say, items that need to be attended to, issues that need to be addressed, and a story about a cat who walks into a bar that's already recorded to be shoved in after this. And that will get us through 10 minutes. Absolutely fucking fantastic. Hello. Two cats walk into a bar. One of the cats goes straight up to the bar counter and says, "Hello, can I have a pint of your finest Guinness, please?" And the man behind the bar says, "No." And the cat says, "What do you mean, no?" And the man behind the bar says, "I mean the opposite to the affirmative. I suppose you call it the declinative or something like that. I don't have any other words for it. I'm not a frigging walking thesaurus, and even if I was, I'm standing perfectly still at the moment. Although I suppose any thesaurus worth its salt would operate just as well when it's standing still as when it's moving. In fact, probably better. Most books work better when they're standing still. There's no point having a book moving around on wheels or something. I guess it's one of those books on wheels things that you see being wheeled around a prison to the different cells on movies, but they're not reading them while they're moving. No, that's just a distribution system. But anyway, no, you can't have a pint of our finest Guinness." And the cat says, "Why not?" And the man behind the bar says, "I would have thought that was obvious. Is it not obvious?" And the cat says, "No, hence me questioning you." And the man behind the bar says, "Well, the reason why you can't have a pint of my finest Guinness is because you're a fucking cat." And the cat says, "I'm not a fucking cat. I'm a bog standard cat. I've been fixed for one thing. So even if you mean that literally, I'm certainly not a fucking cat. Although I suppose I could still be and just be firing blanks. I'm not entirely sure how it works, but I don't have the instinct. So I think it removes the instinct, and therefore I'll never find out. Although I seem to be more aware of this than your normal bog standard cat. So maybe it works differently for me. I don't know. So maybe you have a point there." And the man behind the bar says, "I do have a pint here, but it's not for you because you're a fucking cat. Now, who wants a pint of my finest Guinness?" And the cat says, "Yeah, me please, thank you. I'll have a pint of your finest Guinness." And the man behind the bar says, "I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to the non-cat members of the congregation here." And the cat says, "Oh, we're calling it a congregation now, are we? Is this a freaking church or a freaking pub?" And the man behind the bar says, "That's of no concern of yours." you're not qualified to be either a member of this pub's clientele or a member of any congregation, although that's not up to me. I don't run any establishment that would have a congregation, but I'm pretty sure if you went into a church and said, hello, I'd like to be a member of your congregation, please, I'm pretty sure they'd say, no, you're a cat, you're a bog standard cat, get the hell out of here. And the cat says, I think you'll find I can prove you wrong about that. I think you'll find that places that have congregations are usually very welcoming places. They're open to people and cats of all shapes and sizes, of all denominations, of all currencies. You can pretty much be anyone and walk into a church and say, hello, am I welcome here? And they'll say, yes, of course you're welcome here. The God that we believe in would welcome anyone, especially one of his creatures. I'm considered one of God's creatures, being a cat. And the man behind the bar says, well, I'm not God. And the cat says, I think that's perfectly obvious. You don't need to state that for me. I think that's as obvious as be damned. It's as obvious as the day you were born. And the man behind the bar says, well, what day was I born on then? And the cat says, give me 7 guesses and I'll tell you. And the man behind the bar says, oh, that's very clever indeed. Very clever indeed. But a bit of cleverness does not a world make. You can't live off cleverness. You need oxygen and food, and certainly not beer. And I certainly can't make money out of you. And I need money to buy my oxygen and food. Well, my food anyway. I can get the oxygen for free. Well, I need a place to breathe it. You can't just stand in the middle of the road for your whole life breathing, as people will say, oh, you're free to breathe the air, but you can't live in the middle of the road. That's considered loitering or something, or hoboism, or whatever it is it's called in your respective jurisdiction. And the cat says, I'm afraid you've lost me there. And the man behind the bar says, exactly, bog standard cat, that's what you are.
Into your head. Remember, we value the opinions of you, the humble and ignorant listener. Email Neal at studio@intoyourhead.com.
Support the Podcastual Arts at no cost to you. Just click through the Amazon link at intoyourhead.com whenever you go shopping for anything, even if you use Amazon UK or Canada. We'll take your weird foreign money here. We're not proud. Just visit intoyourhead.com and click on the appropriate Amazon banner.
Now, I know what you're thinking there. You're thinking, Christ, it's been nothing but cats and inanimate objects and cats walking into bars and hobos versus inanimate people and how to breathe oxygen. We don't need instructions on how to breathe oxygen. Stop being patronising us. You're patronising us, the listener. Well, I think you'll find it's us, the listeners, or else me, the listener. Get your grammar correct. If you can't even get your grammar correct when I'm misquoting you, then I can tell you have a lot to learn. You should have a bit of humility. If you've learned everything, then you might as well just shove some clay into your ears and cover up your eyes with black masking tape and not ever take in anything of the world ever again. If you know everything, that's the problem with these young people. You think you know everything. You think you know. You don't even know how much you know or how much you don't know, because you decide, oh, I know everything. Well, it's time to stop knowing everything and start yesing everything and say, yes, I'm ready to take this in and analyse it. I'll run it through my brain with which I've been equipped. You've been growing this brain for at least... Your brain, isn't fully developed until your mid-20s. Okay? That's when you start using it. If your brain is only just developed, it can't be full of everything yet. Any stuff that you put into it during the first 25 years it probably didn't take correctly. It's like if you plant a load of, it's like when you're sowing potatoes, only about half of those seeds will take, and then you come back a month or two later and you thin out the seeds, you take out the ones that aren't going to grow or that are just in the way, and then you turn 25, and then you start realizing, I don't know everything. I thought I knew everything. I might have had all the information, but I wasn't using it, so you had to get rid of some of that. So you probably went and took some drugs. That's what young people do nowadays in their 20s. They take drugs, they take a load of, they smoke all sorts of things. They smoke cannabis and tobacco and crap. They get a bit of paper and they roll it up, not satisfied with the miracle of paper, which didn't even exist a few hundred years ago. They think, there's a bit of paper, I'm going to roll that up and put some plants in it. Paper is made of plants. You could just... There's a question for you. How come we never just smoked paper? If we're all into smoking bits of plants, why don't we just smoke paper? Paper would probably make a fine weed. Paper is basically it's made from some of the finest trees known to man. The same trees that we use to make big cardboard houses. We can make wood out of trees. But no, if you tell a young person, you could smoke that paper, that's made from some of the finest plants known to man, they'd laugh at you. They'd say, no, you can only use that as a container in which you wrap up some other weed. You put some weeds and drugs and all sorts of things in it, and then you wrap it up, and then you set it on fire, and then you shove it down your gullet, or else you turn it. Sometimes they bypass the whole paper process altogether, and they just put it into brownies. They put their drugs inside a bit of cake. It's like being in it's like some weird fucked up version of being a child. You have to be given cakes all the time, but you have to have drugs inside them that will only take effect several hours later. That's the young people for you nowadays. They're all fucked up. The young people are basically they're like fucked up versions of the young people that we were, except they're not based on the people we were. They're based on themselves. They don't evolve from us. That's a misunderstanding people have. They think we've all evolved. We're all evolving as we go along from generation to generation. No. The only way you could possibly evolve is the way a caterpillar evolves into a butterfly. And that doesn't work for humans. Because if you have a child, the child isn't you. You don't turn into that child. No, that child starts again from scratch. So any evolution that you've done, that's why they're pissing their pants. If you were taught as a child not to pee in your pants, well, if you have a child, you'll find the first thing that child does is piss in its pants. It's taking a step backwards. That's the complete opposite of evolution. It's going backwards. You may well be able to drive a car, but can your firstborn child drive a car the minute he's born? No, he's taking a step backwards. It's one step forward, two steps back. Wasn't that a Paula Abdul song? Wasn't it? I think it was. One step forward, three steps back. We go together. That's the one she did with the cartoon cat. Absolutely. Isn't pop music fantastic? No, it isn't. It's a load of shite. The biggest pile of shite that's ever been thrust upon humanity. Bigger than the pile of shite that the Triceratops would lay on your ground if you had one in your back garden back in the dinosaur era, where at least they had the decency to die out. But no, try telling that to the pop musicians of today. Although technically Paula Abdul isn't a pop musician of today. She's a pop musician of the early 1990s, so I suppose in a way she died out. She moved on to a different career. She had the decency to move on. Or did she? I don't know. Haven't really researched this. We'll have to fucking do researching to Paula Abdul's career development before I can make a point about dinosaur shit. I don't think so. Unless there's some new governing body for internet broadcasting that I don't know about yet. And if they are, they're not giving me a grant at the moment, so I don't feel I have to live by. If they start giving me some sort of public service broadcasting grant, then I'll probably have to have some standard of research. that I do for this stuff. Monkey nuts, that's what they call them. They call them big steaming, shit-eating, piss-piling, window looking out of sideways, wondering whether this affects the sound, because it means the microphone is pointing at the side of my face rather than the front of it. Although does the sound come out of my face? No, it comes out of my mouth and it fills the whole room if I'm doing it properly. If the sound is coming out of your face with enough velocity, although velocity is speed in a particular defined direction, isn't it? So that would make it worse, because I'm shouting therefore towards the window. My velocity is going in the wrong way, so no, I've just proven myself wrong there. So I better look back this way. I'm looking back at you now. So there's not a freaking television program, but apparently I still have to look at you, the listener, for it to work properly. Whoever claimed to make this so-called magical world of audio recording, they made a right fuck up of that now. Because you're supposed to be able to picture me looking at you in your mind's eye in the theatre of the imagination, but you can't if I'm looking the wrong way here and it sounds like I'm looking somewhere else, because that affects how you recreate it in your mind. Isn't it absolutely fucking ridiculous? Absolutely fucking ridiculous. But I suppose there's not very much we can do about it now, is there? Unless your imagination is better than I give it credit for, which it may well be. How good is your imagination? There's a question for you. I'm going to leave the answer to your imagination.